even identifying your needs, there's always work. Like there's always one that comes up and you're like, oh shit, where'd you come from?
Right.
Like, sneaky little fucker.
Yeah. Hello, 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 and welcome to Well Shit. It really is that simple. I'm Claire.
And I'm Serena. On this podcast, we help you to understand about your 12 universal needs, why they are currently not being well met,
How to meet them in ways that work for you, and how to consistently do so in quick, easy, and simple ways that fit seamlessly into your life.
We'll also help you to understand how doing so will have a positive ripple effect in literally every area of your life.
If you like what you hear, sign up for more support with meeting your needs with your weekly Universal Needs notes at theuniversalneeds.com.
And enjoy the show.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hey, everyone.
So, this is a new experience for me because I have no idea what today's episode is going to be about. Serena came in this morning and I think we've kind of shared this in the past, that how this podcast came about was we would have these conversations and we would have the conversation. We were like, wow, that would be really helpful for other people to hear that. And a lot of people have been like, people should see the conversations the two of you have.
Yeah, people have been bystanders
Yes.
and bystanders. Why? Bystanders hearing the conversations. They're like, why don't you have somebody actually said that we should be a reality show and have a camera up there just because they're like watching like, huh.
Yeah.
So.
We had someone sit watching us working and we're like, da, da, da. And I'm like, oh, I wasn't even aware that we were, I wasn't even aware we were being watched. So, so today Serena said, she reminded me of this and she was like, I have a question. Like, can I just ask you the question on the podcast and see what the answer is and have the conversation we normally have? And I'm like, okay, let's see where this goes. And who knows?
If you're a loyal viewer or a listener, you know this could go anywhere.
So many different ways.
Anywhere. We will try and stay on track, but there are no promises.
Will
on
we?
This one. I'll try. Success is a different story.
Okay, that's fair. Okay, so what is the question? So I think that I get the impression from you is that might be a question that other people might be thinking or wanting to ask.
I was just going to ask a random question that nobody else gives a shit about.
Cool. Like, this is going to be a really interesting episode.
Not that would be funny for our listeners. Maybe it would.
It might be funny for her.
But no, it is something that I feel like a lot of people can resonate with. And the thing is, obviously, I live this work, I breathe this work, we talk about this work constantly. Like, it's integrated into me. And I think I know the answer. And a lot of times we have these conversations and it's like, no, you're right. And there's usually a big and in there. So
my favorite word, nuance.
Yes.
There's always layers to everything. Always. Is this going to be a really boring podcast? If you ask the question, I just go, yep. Okay, and that's the end of today's podcast.
Hey, maybe it's a quickie for everybody.
We keep saying we're going to do a short episode at some point. I didn't realize that we were going to go for a 7-minute episode where most of it is talking about the fact that we're going to talk about something.
Jazzing it up a little bit.
Okay, so
all right.
Shoot, what's your episode? What's your episode? What's your question?
Episode?
What is your episode, Serena?
Even though we went through this the other day on the episode, my episode is the Larry episode.
Oh, yes, we do. Okay.
We'll get to that one eventually. This one. So, I have been having this hesitation lately.
Okay.
And why do I have hesitation and apprehension when trying to start a new habit? A habit that I know is going to serve me. Mm-hmm. A habit that I want to start enacting.
Okay.
Yet.
Mm-hmm.
The things sit there. The stuff is undone. The plans are not made. Mm-hmm. The action part has not. I've done lots of thinking on this stuff and lots of excuses and lots of avoidance and all of the other things. And I was sitting there this morning. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what? Like, come on. Like,
why am I not doing this?
Why am I not doing this? And it's not.
Yeah.
And most of the things I'm talking about are it really wouldn't take much. Like it wouldn't take much. However, what I've come to in my own mind is starting something new or starting a new habit usually means that I have to alter or give up something else. And I feel like since everything we do every day is done to meet our needs or mask our needs, there's this kind of, especially knowing these things will serve me, there's an unconscious, I think for some people it might be fear. For me, it's usually an unconscious questioning of how is this going to impact my needs in the ways that I had been getting it met. And like, I know about switching out habit, like I know how to do this. So if I'm having this issue and I know how to do it, and I think I have an idea as to why I'm doing it, like, what's the deal?
Yes, that's it. That's fine. Moving on. Yes. And
so predictable.
Damn it. I hate being predictable. So many layers to this. There are so many layers to this. So what you were saying is that the thing that you've kind of come to the conclusion of is that because you're doing stuff that is already meeting your needs to a greater or lesser extent.
And I will fully admit most of the things that I'm looking, like one of the things is I want to get back into weekly dancing, exercising. Like I've been taking classes for years and I haven't because I've been in recovery mode for health, for emotions, all of those things. I know this will benefit me. And I know that the little bit that I'm doing now is nothing compared to what I know that feeling of fulfillment is when I do this for myself. You think I can get myself to a class right now? And I get that, you know, especially given the content of the last couple of episodes, like I've been in a space and I do acknowledge that. However, I'm like, there's still, I'm like I even think about it and I'm like, nah. Or my teeth aligners, like I want to start that up again. I have the box sitting there. Put them in your mouth. Like, just.
You make it sound so simple.
Right? But when that's the thing in my mind, I'm like, this should be this simple, but it's not. So here we are.
Okay. So, and I think that it's interesting because I think that the fact that there are some different, and this is an interesting one because normally on a podcast, I'd be coming with, okay, this is what we're talking about. And here's the elements of it that we're going to talk about. Now, because this is a very, very generic question in a lot of ways, but there's also some specifics in this situation. I'm going to actually approach it in two different ways, in the sense that
you get podcasting two ways.
Yes, two-way podcasting. So at a very general level, there's a number of different reasons why this happens. It could be that, and unsurprisingly, it's all needs related. Shocker, I know.
You don't say.
So
I'm sure it'll be pretty fucking simple at the end too.
Yeah, I mean, and in reality, I think the thing about it is that when we're wanting to build a new habit, yes, there's an element. What you're saying in the sense that, well, am I going to give up this thing to then do this new thing? And then is that going to negatively impact my needs to do that? I think the other thing is that a lot of the things that we're in this space of like, I want to do this because I know it's going to be good for me. Those things, and this is the reason I'm going to answer this generically first, because I know with the dance situation, this may not necessarily be exactly the case. So like there are exceptions to this. This is not a one size fits all answer for every instance of this, mainly because there's never a one size fits all answer to any question when it comes to needs because of the levels of layers and nuance. It may be that a lot of the time, those things that we want, they're going to be gains in the long term. Like the benefit we're going to feel comes from accumulation of doing this thing. And the benefit we feel in the moment that we do it, for the moment that we do it, doesn't tend to be as impactful as the end result we're going to get to. It also, because some of our coping strategies might give us that quick hit of meeting our needs, but not really a very good hit of meeting our needs. Like it's like the difference between having an espresso and having a good night's sleep. Like having a good night's sleep, you're going to feel like it's that kind of deep nourishment. It's like you don't feel that intense, pow, yeah, I'm ready to go. Like, I mean, some people might do.
I envy you.
But you tend to have that hit of the espresso, like, right, yeah, ready, let's go do this kind of thing. And I'm saying nothing.
I don't know who does that.
As she's gulping her iced coffee.
Latte, espresso.
Yeah. I mean, utilization of the props around us. It doesn't feel necessarily as intense. And I think that we're in a society at the moment where we're used to the quick hits. Like we're used to those quick dopamine hits, like the things that are on our phone, things are there. Like we're used to getting that hit of like, it's a quick hit and it's an intense hit. It might not be a very fulfilling hit, but it's that quick hit. And the intensity is often, can sometimes be associated with things that aren't necessarily, going to hit the pop screen. Things that aren't necessarily going to create what we want, like from a like really fulfilling and nourishing place in the long term. So I think that sometimes the effort required, like when we're starting a new habit, and in the context of habits here, there are like two things that we want to be thinking about. The first is not all habits are equal in the sense that not all brains are equal. So some people for some people, a habit is, I don't even think about it, I just do it. For a lot of kind of neurospicy folks, it requires thought. Have you not heard that term before?
I haven't, but that's...
There you go. New term for you. And this is coming from two people who have definitely neurospicy tendencies, although we haven't kind of delved deep into that yet. Do you mind me sharing that?
I do not, but thank you very much for asking.
Because if she'd minded, I would have edited that part of the podcast. But I just realised I was sharing like on your behalf without actually checking and getting your consent.
It's kind of obvious I'm spicy.
Yeah, exactly. So so one version of habit is I do it without thinking about it. The other is it requires thought every single time, and that's really what habit is for me. It's like I know the steps to do it, but I have to think about it every time I do it. Like I have to think about the fact that I need to brush my teeth. I have to think about taking a shower. I have to think about making my breakfast. I have to think about eating. Like it's not like an automatic, I just do it. And so when we're looking at building a habit, it requires effort at the beginning, no matter which of these we're doing. Now, if you are in it requires thought every time, it's going to require a little bit of effort every single time because that thought process has to happen. But at the beginning, for everybody, it requires effort because what we're doing is we're changing out of one pattern and changing into another. Like that might be just a tiny change. It might be a little tweak, but there is some effort required in making that change. And sometimes the effort required versus the immediate payoff doesn't feel like I'm getting my return on investment in the short term because we're not necessarily staying connected to what we want and need in the long term. We're focused on cost benefit in the immediate term. And actually, I might feel immediately more better. This is great English, Claire, by sitting and watching an episode of something on Netflix than by getting my butt off the couch to go to a dance class.
Well, and like you said, the dance. That
was a bad example.
The dance aspect is it's very nuanced in this situation because of the many layers that dance has in my life. Right. But something that just came to me as you were speaking is that New Year's resolution type of deal. And a lot of times you see people like January 1st, I'm going back to the gym. Yeah. By February, the gym is crickets. Empty because you get that like, okay, I'm going to do this and you're all jazzed up to do it.
I'm excited about it the first time.
Right. And you might see some, like the first time you go back, you might see some pretty quick, like you may or may not, but sometimes you see that kind of quick, like, oh, I've lost a couple of pounds. Yay. And then you hit a plateau and it's like,
well, and again, that's if you're, again, nuance, because that's then focusing on weight loss rather than health or flexibility or strength gain or whatever it is that you're looking for. Like there's layers of this, and like from a needs point of view, especially when we kind of bring the weight loss, it's not as simple as that because of how we're orienting to ourselves and our value and
Nuance.
Absolutely nuance. So I'm like, I just need to sort of kind of speak that in. But I think that from a general point of view, it requires some effort to start the new habit, and that effort and the immediate reward aren't necessarily in alignment, which can be the thing that's like kind of preventing us from just kind of being like, okay, let's just do it. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, because that thing that the alternative might be giving you that quick dopamine hit, like it might be like, well, I'm not getting the trade here. Like I'm giving up this thing for this thing where I'm not getting the same benefit. Now, the thing about it is, if you're meeting your needs in red spectrum ways, and I'm not saying that sitting and watching Netflix is always a red spectrum way. There are some instances in which it is absolutely not. It is a green spectrum way of doing things. But if you are doing things in red spectrum ways, then yes, you might get a hit from it, but you're really not going to get much benefit in terms of your needs being fulfilled. And that's one of the things that we want to kind of stay connected to, is like my purpose here, like what I'm trying to do is I want my needs to be fulfilled, not like, let's go back to the red green spectrum and what we talk about in that context, which is like red spectrum way of doing things is I'm doing things quick hit. It is the thing that like, it's like the fast food meal where it stops you from momentarily feeling your hunger, but it's not providing the nourishment that your hunger is telling you that you require. Whereas the whole food, home cooked, nutritionally balanced way of meeting needs, okay, yes, not only does it satiate the hunger, but it actually provides the nourishment. And that's the thing, is that we're not often staying connected to that. So that's like one of the elements of it. The other thing is that if, for example, the thing that you are going to stop doing to do the thing that you want to do is the only thing that is meeting or masking an unmet need, and you stop doing that without addressing the unmet need underneath, it's going to be real difficult to stick with it. Like we talk about this in the bad habits, how to shift bad habits episode. Like we go into this in more detail, but it's like, if for example, it's the only thing I'm doing that is meeting my value need, for example, it might not be meeting my value need in particularly good ways, but if it's the only way I'm getting my value need met, it's going to be real difficult to stop doing that thing, to start doing something that might be meeting my emotion experience expression need, or my value need, or my love need, or my security need, in which case that, and this is why it's like, it's not a simple answer to the question, because it depends on the circumstances, which needs are up, which needs are being met, which needs are not being met, which is why like, yes. And I think that the thing about it is that we want to stay connected to what is our, again, how do we get into creative mode? We've mentioned this in previous episodes. We are going to do the shapes episode. It is coming, I promise. I'm not just kind of dangling a carrot that's never going to arrive, I promise. We talk about getting into creative mode. What's my outcome? And the thing is, what tends to the other thing that can tend to happen is that we're doing this thing. So let's use the teeth, what did you call it?
The teeth aligners.
Teeth aligners, okay. And this is a really weird example because it doesn't take much time or energy to do that initially, but just kind of bear with me. Let's use,
well, mine, and this is like it's a braces system because my bite is off. So it's like an invisible braces, and you have to, it's like a 20-minute process.
Okay.
So it's a little bit more than just popping them in.
Yeah.
So that might give you a little more context. Like it
not, might, but it also might cause the thing that I was thinking about to disappear out of my head. I've got no idea what I was going to say now. It needs to come back. What was it?
Damn it. The aligners are kind of weird.
No, it was what I was thinking before you went in that path. I was like, it was the time thing. Got it. Pause for dramatic effect. Right. So let's use the example of the teeth aligners and the Netflix. So Say, for example, you are in a position where you believe that using your teeth aligners is the thing that you quote unquote should be doing at this point in time. Now, it's probably a bad example because you can probably do them both at the same time. But let's pretend that's not true for a second. Let's pretend that you have to stop doing one in order to do the other. Because a lot of bad habits, that is exactly what the situation is. So the thing is, hold it. Let me get this out first. The thing is that if you are wanting to watch Netflix, because there is a part of, say, your wholeness need or something that is wanting that time to relax, zone out, not think about anything else, and just chill for a second and escape from the realities of adulting for 30 or 60 minutes. But the whole time you are watching, all you're thinking about is the fact that you should be doing this other thing. You're not actually getting the need met through the thing that you are doing, she says, repeatedly hitting the sound screen. And so this is like, let's use this as I'm going to shift to a slightly different example, but I'm going to use the Netflix example. Say it's watching Netflix and going to bed to get sleep, because this is an easy one where it's like, it's an either or kind of thing. A lot of the time, people will not actually enjoy their Netflix. I was going to say adventure. Netflix and chill. I'm like, that's a whole different thing. But they won't enjoy like fully relaxing and enjoying. So they're not getting the benefit, which is the thing that they want from that thing, which means that this is never satiated. So we never get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to take 30 minutes and I'm going to really enjoy just doing nothing. Mm-hmm. And then after I've done the nothing over here, then I can do the thing over here. So I'm doing the Netflix, I'm going to escape for a while, and I'm going to get to just check out and actually enjoy not having to think about adulting for a second. Once I've actually allowed myself to fully enjoy doing that, then I can be like, okay, I've had my time to do that, and now I can go to sleep because I've had some time, which is my time to recharge. The thing is, if you spend your entire time watching Netflix going, I should be going to sleep, I should be going to sleep, I should be sleeping right now, I should be sleeping right now, I shouldn't be watching Netflix right now, you're not actually enjoying and getting the benefit from the Netflix thing that will allow you to then be like, okay, check. Needs met through that mechanism. Now I'm going to go on to the next need, which is I'm freaking tired and I need to go to sleep.
It's almost like you're double whammying the negative impact to your needs instead of like meeting them. You're trying to meet them and you're actually depleting
not meeting either of them. Yeah, exactly. So this is why I kind of like examples. Like, and so I'm actually we're going to come back to the dancing in a second because I want to actually kind of dig a little underneath that and for people to see how this works. But I'm like, this is the reason the examples are, because the examples show where the nuance is. Mm-hmm. Because depending on what we're talking about will depend on, and these are just two of the reasons why this might not be happening. Mm-hmm. At the base level, generally speaking, the reason that we're not doing something is that we believe that doing it will cost us or not doing it will benefit us. Mm-hmm. And so when we are in that situation, it's like, okay, and this is like how to kind of start to figure this out for yourself. If you don't have a Claire, like Serena does, we'd go, okay, why the hell am I doing this? And you can't afford to come and work with Claire because that's why some people work with me. It's like, I need you to help me figure out what's underneath this because I can't see it. This is something you can start to do for yourself. So when you're in this space, the thing that you are doing, be like, okay, what would not doing that cost me? What will doing that benefit me? And just start to ask yourself those questions. And it's like, well, if the answer is a little kind of ambiguous, like, well, okay, well, what would that give me? Or what would not having that cost me? Mm-hmm. And like, keep asking those questions and you're going to start to get to a point where like, oh, I need that right now.
Yeah, I'm doing that in my head right now. And I'm like, oh,
there we go. And so like that's one of the things that's like that this is one of the ways that you can start to do this for yourself, which is like when these weird, like I always describe them as the what the fuck moments. Like when you have that, why the fuck am I doing that? Like what the fuck? Why am I doing that? Normally there are hidden needs underneath it. So it's like either my hidden needs are stopping me from doing something because I think that if I do the thing that those needs are going to get cost, or not doing the thing I believe is meeting my needs in some way. And so I don't want to stop start doing the thing because I'm going to stop having those needs met. So that was a really convoluted way of saying that. But I hope you're following me at home. But basically what we're saying is like, okay, this is why it's helpful when I know we're discussing in advance, because I can distill these thoughts rather than you hearing the 5-hour version of this is not going to be a 5-hour episode, don't worry, version of the conversation that Serena and I would have. But this is like basically like, okay, if I'm doing something that I don't want to be doing, what is doing that giving me? What would not doing that cost me? If I'm not doing something that I want to be doing, what would doing that cost me? What is not doing that benefiting me, in a nutshell? Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
I'm picking up what you're putting down.
I'm glad somebody is. Like, Mr. Nichols is like flat on his back.
Yeah, he's just down.
He's like, I'm out. Like, I don't know what this is. Mr. Nichols is our niggle monster from the friendship series Clearing Niggles episode, if you are wondering what on earth we are talking about. So yeah, any thoughts on that before I kind of ask the questions I want to ask about the dance stuff? Or are you already in that process on the dance stuff?
I mean, what you've said makes sense. And what the example, like when you were doing the Netflix and the
sleep,
the aligners, because they are very weird examples. One of the things that came to my mind, like I've had a long and tumultuous relationship with food and snacking and why I do stuff like that, and like going in, like sometimes it's nourishment, sometimes it's I'm thirsty, the many reasons, and this is a nighttime system, so I put them on, and then you're supposed to keep them on, like you go through a process, you have to like do 10 minutes of biting some jiggly thing so it like snaps them into your teeth, like there's a whole thing, and that's one of the things, like I know late night snacking doesn't usually serve me. Like 99% of the time it doesn't. I'm like, how is this going to affect me then? And as I'm going, I'm like, I can always take them out. Like if like I'm nourished, needing nourishment like that, I'm all of a sudden like my personal power is coming, and it's like, you have options, Serena, to be able to do, like you said with the Netflix thing. You can do both. You can do all, you can most of the time, like
there's normally options. There's normally ways of getting your need. That's the thing. There's normally options for ways to get your needs met. And like in that situation, it's like, is the late night snacking because you're hungry? In which case, how do you navigate that in order that you're not having that hunger at that point in time? Or is it because the late night snacking is actually meeting a different need? And is there another need we want to be taking care of? Because once that's taken care of, that element gets taken out the equation, and all of a sudden doing the aligners is no big deal anymore.
Well, and it's interesting because the aligners, they're right next to the couch where I sit. So it's super easy for me to actually do this. Like I've set myself up to begin this, but it's been sitting there for like a month and a half because here I am. But like every time I see them, I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I need to do, like, why am I not doing it? So I'm having this constant conversation. I'm constantly letting this thing impact my needs, when if I just did it,
and that's the thing, and this is what tends to happen with these things, is that we create a lot of shame for ourselves about the fact that we're not just doing it, because in our head we're like, it's easy, it's right there, it's simple, it will take me 2 minutes to start this process. I mean, it might take me 20 minutes to do it, but like just the open the damn box, Serena. Like that's what I can imagine you saying to yourself, which is like, why the hell are you not doing this?
It took me 2 months to open the box, and then it took me another month to put it on the counter, and I'm like, and I do see that as progress. Like that, to me, I do acknowledge the fact, like, okay, we're putting one foot in front of the other. It's just, I know this should be faster for where I'm, or I believe this should be faster for where I'm at in my process, and what I know, like, I'm not immune to the fact that, or not immune, ignorant to the fact that there's something underneath. And I'm pretty good. I mean, there's even identifying your needs. There's always work. Like there's always one that comes up and you're like, oh shit, where'd you come from? Like, sneaky little fucker. Yeah. And I realize there are different needs that are pulling the strings there, but it's like, I get in my head, and then I'm like, ugh.
Well, and this is where the shame comes in, where like that very quickly, rather than like, if we don't get connected into what are the needs that are underneath this? What are the reasons that this is happening? And if I want to make a different choice, how do I work with those reasons to make making a different choice easier? What ends up happening is that we end up then shaming ourselves. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, why are you not doing this? Like, why can you not just do the damn thing? Like that. And then when you start doing that, go back and listen to the guilt and shame series. Yeah. Downward spiral, which is that like, oh, what is wrong with me? And it's like, when we do that, when we start to shame ourselves in that way, we negatively impact our needs more. And in those situations, the coping strategies that we have used tend to bubble up and become louder and more insistent. Because when we're in a place where our needs are even worse met, like at those points in time, subconsciously we go to grab the cookies, get the chips, like, because that's the thing that has given us, like what we talked about earlier, those quick hits. If I feel a little bit better about myself right now, even though long term it's not actually moving me in the direction I want to go in.
And it's ironic in that situation, I would be drawn, like when I shame spiral myself down, one of my go-to desirably changing habits, like something that I've been working hard on over the years to change, is that grab food. Right. I know there's better ways to meet my needs than that, like through my process.
Right.
And so the thing that I would go to when I shame spiral myself down about not using these teeth aligners, partially because I can't snack, is the thing that I go to. And then
there we go.
It almost makes the spiral quicker, because then I'm like, well, what if I need this?
Right.
Like, what if I have... Well, I can find
the need for the snacking seems higher, so the resistance to using the aligners is even more intense.
That.
So this is the reason that, like, I wish I could just give here's the answer to the question, but there are always layers.
This would be short podcast episodes. Question. Here you go. Answer.
Done. Maybe we need to start doing reels instead of like full podcast episodes. But yes, this is the reason that this, I think this conversation is helpful for people to listen to, because they can be like, oh, okay. This is like, a lot of the times they're like, just give me the fucking answer. Just tell me the answer to the question. I'm like, I wish I could. There's not one answer. It depends on the circumstances, and it depends on the needs that are up. So anything else you want to add before we move on? Dancing. So when you think about dancing, what is the thing? Okay, what is the, like, what is holding you back? Like what is causing the resistance? Like, what does going to dancing cost you? What does staying here benefit you? I'm also going to ask if there's something you're afraid of. I don't know why. That's just popped in.
There's a few things.
Yep.
First is where I'm recovering physically. There's a
I think that's where the fear piece is. Yeah. Like, it's a small thing, but I think that's where
there's a hesitation that I'm not there yet, because I'm gonna be better in a week.
Yeah.
I'm never better in a week.
Yeah.
This recovery has taken a lot longer, and it's had some lasting effects that I don't believe anybody was expecting. So I am very careful, because I know that my body and my foundation function in taking care of myself is the most important thing to do. If I put that aside, go dance and rip apart a muscle, like, that's not going to serve me in any way whatsoever. So there is that layer of fear, because in the past I have danced through the pain. I've danced through broken bones. I've done that. So I think I'm worried a little bit about old habits creeping in, where I'm like, no, I'm better. I'm not well.
Can I ask a question? It may come up with the other options, but it's just really present right now. Is there a part of you that is afraid that because of the consequences of the surgery that you won't be able to do things you used to be able to do?
Not really, but it's the when. Like, when, how long till I can do that?
Mean is there a part of you that's afraid that, like, you're going to try it and realize you're still not there, and that's going to create frustration because you want to do it, but there's something that means that you can't yet do it?
Yeah, I think, but unconsciously, like, I don't think I attached to that until you just said it, but
normally this stuff is subconscious, which is the hardest thing about doing this for ourselves. But that was like, as soon as you started speaking, I'm like, ooh.
And I think one of the reasons why that's really present, Claire and I, in the way Claire and I's worlds work, we ended up at a dance audition a couple of weeks ago.
Unexpected. We were not planning on auditioning that day.
Weren't we both in like skirt? Like, I mean,
we were not dressed for it. We didn't have the footwear for it. Like,
we weren't.
We were like
planned.
We were both in like floor length skirts. That was not ideal for the kind of dancing that we were being asked to do.
And after that little audition thing, I felt what I was concerned about, and I think there was that kind of like, oh, am I still not there where I can take a class? And
well, and the thing that's really present in that is that this is one of those things that it's a sneaky way that our needs show up, is that sometimes there is a part of us subconsciously that is preventing us from finding out something that's going to be really difficult for us to deal with. It's going to negatively impact us to realize. It reminds me, and I think I might have mentioned this in the past on a previous episode. I don't remember which one it was. There's an episode of How I Met Your Mother in which Ted, who's one of the main characters, starts his architecture business, but he doesn't actually make any calls to try and bring in any clients. And they're asking him why, and I can't remember exactly, I'm kind of paraphrasing what he says, but basically he's saying all the time that he doesn't make calls, he still has the potential to have his own architecture business. If he makes the calls and he can't get any clients, that's the end of that dream. And that dream, the need subtext on this is having that dream, having the potential of I could do this now, is meeting needs. Mm-hmm. And I know how important dance is to you. And I believe that there's a part of you that doesn't really want to know if you're not there yet, because you've already waited so long, and that has compromised some of your needs by not being able to dance. And there's a part of you that doesn't really want to know whether, like, if you don't go to a class, you won't find out right now. Mm-hmm. So right now, you still have the potential to go to a class right now.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go and you find out you're not there yet, then you have to go back to, I can't do this for X period of time until I'm there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd say that plays a part in it.
Okay. So you were saying there are a couple of other things, but that was just like, this is the reason that kind of sometimes having these conversations, especially with someone who kind of understands how these needs often show up in our world, can be really helpful, because that's something that I'm pretty sure that Serena wouldn't have got to on her own. Mm-hmm. But it's like something where because I can see the way that the needs kind of work, I'm like, is this, and like and as I said, like, is this present? Mm-hmm. If it's not present, cool. Like, we can move on from that one, because there's so many options as to what could be going on in these situations. But sometimes it can be helpful to have someone go, oh, is it this, or is it this, or is it this, or could it be this, or could it be this, could it be this? Because then all of a sudden, hold on a second, that's something I'd never even considered up to this point. Mm-hmm. That could be that, and when it comes to a situation like this, rarely is it just one thing. Mm-hmm. It's not regular. It doesn't tend to be like there's this one need that go, I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to get met. Normally, it's like a complex combination of several different things,
which is what makes it so hard.
And what makes it hard to figure out why is it happening and how do I then deal with it? Because, okay, well, which needs would be impacted if I weren't able to dance for another period of time? This need, this need, this need. Okay, I need to take care of these needs. But then it's also being affected because of this. So it's like we need it kind of paints a picture of our needs and like where do we want to be prioritizing our time and attention. And how do we then navigate through that? And how do we navigate the feels? Because if that, like, because something that's going to come up, like something that comes up around that is like, oh, that would suck, which means that there's going to be some emotional experience. How do we process that so that that's not adding to this situation? So carry on with whatever your things were. But I'm just like trying to explain for people listening why this can be really a helpful process to go through.
Another thing would be not being to the same caliber I was before I had surgery. So being able to do it, but not being, I mean, I had muscle work done, which means that I haven't been able to move in the way that I normally do. Will I ever be able to comfortably do what I've done before?
Apparently we've got really loud people outside. Apologies for that. If you're picking that up on the mic, actually that is that's exactly what I was trying to get at before. But we got to a different, and this is the thing, is that by asking the questions, I didn't ask the question so narrowly that it was like, oh yes, it's that. I asked the question in a more broader sense, because it's now brought up a couple of different things. Because is there a fear that I won't be able to do it to the same level? Is there a fear I won't be able to dance yet? Those are two different things, but they are closely related, and they're probably going to be affecting similar needs.
One of the big things that anytime I think about it that kind of swirls in is the environment of my last dancing experience became toxic.
Right.
And there were just different personalities, and it was becoming more of a I want to say obligation, but there wasn't the enjoyment in it that I find.
It was taxing.
It was taxing.
Be in that environment.
I wasn't getting out of it what I dance for.
Right.
So I was dancing. It was checking that box. It was it was checking a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
But it wasn't checking. It was checking a lot of boxes, but it was checking a lot of it was impacting
costing a lot of boxes.
Yeah, and it just didn't even out. So the thought of do I want to get into that again? Do I want to get into that dynamic again? Because in the dance world, there's a lot of those dynamics that kind of, it's not every studio, it's not every teacher, it's not every class, but you put a bunch of people in a room, you get the different dynamics, and it's okay, is this something I really my time is precious. We're really busy. We work, we create, we try to enjoy,
right.
I want what I'm doing to really fulfill me. And I'm so coming from a situation where at the end, my last impression was I didn't leave where this felt good. So getting back into it, I'm I know it. I know that this is something that will help me. But in the same time, I'm
there's a resistance to it.
What if I go back into this and I'm in the same spot, and then I have to decide, and again, then I have to decide, do I want to leave this? Because we know I wouldn't, I was no, I'm still going, every time I had some kind of and that's not the dancing I want to do. I don't want to be doing the dodging the feeling.
Okay. Duck. There's another a thought that's kind of just come into my mind. And again, because I know Serena well, this is kind of the same thing that happens with clients. Because I know someone's situation well, I kind of ask questions. I'm is there also a possibility that because you're leaving this location in the not so distant future, is there also a concern of I'm going to get into something and I'm going to really enjoy it, and then I've got to leave it, which will then cost?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
And that there's a duality to that one, because part of me is I'm leaving, I'm in a community of performers. This is a place where I want to say it's easy to get into performing, but there's a lot of opportunities for you to kind of enter into that and do it in a way I love dancing. I love dancing on its own. I love taking classes. I love performing. So I when I'm taking a class that then leads to a performance. It, put in a bow on the experience, and then I move on to the next routine. So for me, being and there's a couple of things I've been asked to do, and I'm yes. And it's when I put myself into something, when I invest myself, and it's is all this going to be for nothing? But then I'm but if it's fulfilling me in that short period of time, isn't that worth it? And then my brain's going
yeah. And this is what ends up happening, is that a lot of the time when we're in this situation, it's normally because we've got at a very base level there's a binary choice at the bottom of that, and it's I can either do this or I can do that. It may be that I can do this or I cannot do this. That's the binary choice. Or I could do this option of this or this option of this. And there may be more than just two, but at its very base level, that's kind of where the root of it is. And a lot of the time we're in this situation where I can't move forward in the thing that I want to move forward in, is normally because there's a fear that doing it will meet needs, cost needs, and not doing it will meet needs. But also, when you have those two things, what tends to happen is that you've got one option that's going to meet one set of needs and another option that's going to meet another set of needs. And because of that, you can't make a decision between the two because the needs are having a huge impact. Now, I know, for example, that because of everything that's been going on recently, we've been taking care of like the survival needs. You've been like doing what you need to do to take care. But I also know your practice probably isn't as active as it normally would be. And also it's not as active with the needs that are being affected by these decisions. So the first thing I would always say to somebody in this situation is, first and foremost, let's get our needs met as best as possible within the context of whatever it is that's going on, so that it starts to remove some of those needs from the equation because they stop pulling the strings underneath the surface subconsciously without us being aware of it. The other thing that's really interesting, and it's kind of interesting because I'm going to go somewhere with this that I think you may be a little bit okay, we're going there, are we?
Try me.
Well, the interesting thing is that based on conversations that Serena and I have been having over the last couple of months, Serena is actually doing the thing already that I would be recommending somebody do in this situation. Because this is not a clear cut, yes, I want to do it, no, I don't want to do it. In this situation, I'd be saying, right, let's get into the equator approach. What's our outcome?
Out of my fucking head, Claire. I was going to go there, so.
Good. Yay. I love that. So the thing about it is, there are at least 2 or 3 projects that Serena and I are discussing doing together that is like, okay, what's my outcome? What do I want to create? How do I create this? And the interesting thing is that one of these projects came about because I was in a similar situation where I'm like, I want to get involved with something, but I don't want to do this version of it. And we're like, well, why don't we do something together? Oh my God, that sounds like an amazing idea. Far better than the other alternatives that we had out there. And that's happened with 2 or 3 of these things where it's like, okay, actually, what do I want? What do I want to create? How do I find a way of doing that doesn't have the toxicity, that means I can do it at my own pace, that means that I can work within my current limits but still be able to do some of the things. And it's interesting that what's beautiful about this is that you've already started taking steps to the thing that's going to allow you to start to engage with this part of your life again, but in a way that aligns with the things that are being triggered by the option of just going back to a dance class without like, if we didn't have these projects in the works, just going back to a dance class would be like because of all the things that you've just said. Then maybe that then becomes something where it's like, okay, that then becomes a dance class, becomes a tool that enables me to do more of these things that are actually in alignment with my needs and the things that I'm wanting to do.
Well, and it's also considering, like, and one of the things that we've done in this process of kind of planning out these projects is, do I need the dance class now?
Right.
Is it the dance? Is it the class? And kind of dropping
is it the performing? Is it, yeah.
And we went through that kind of conversation. Like you said, I knew I was in the process of it, but it's still the fact that it's still here is something, as you've been talking, that kind of came to me. I had this feeling like I'm out, then I'm in. Like, full body jump in, like cannonball into a fucking dance class. Like, maybe I should be like isolating my movements around my living room and stretching and like mindfully dance stretching in my living room so that I can gauge where I'm at. And if I do go to a class, be like, okay, I remember, like, I can't go full out. Like,
and you can let the dance teacher, like, for example, like I still have some issues with my back because I broke my back a couple of years ago. And there was one of the dance teachers at one of the classes that I've been exploring attending. And I'm like, I need you to know about this. So I need you to know I won't necessarily be able to do all of those movements. And if you know what those movements are and what your capacity is, you, again, what do you want to create? You want to create a dance class that feels good for you. Here are the things I need to let the teacher know. Here are the things I need to know about myself in order that I can do that and enjoy it.
Yeah. And when I shattered my ankle, I had that say, you shatter your ankle, and especially as a dancer, you're like, it's fucking over. Like, there it goes.
Bye. Yeah.
However, I modify. Like, it's hard to dance when you can't move your ankle in the same way. However, I make it work for me. And it's like, and actually just kind of talking about this, I'm like, okay. Like, I feel, thank you. This is how our conversations go. I'm like, okay, I just needed somebody to take all of that information and kind of be like, and here
laid
it
out
is.
so it makes sense.
Like, yeah, seeing it all in its individual pieces, because there are so many layers to it. And it's like, when I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, I'm focusing on class dynamic, or I'm focusing on the health, or I'm focusing on my physicality. And it's like, it's hard for most people, I think, to think of multiple things in the same thought and have them make sense in a really kind of clear and definitive way.
Yeah, that's and it's interesting because, like, as somebody, and this is a relatively easy one for me to connect to, because Serena and I are kind of cut from the same cloth when it comes to these aspect of our lives. We're both dancers. We both like doing classes. We both love performing. Like, we both have that element within us. And it's interesting because I'm doing a dance class at the moment, and it's interesting how there's always been a purpose to me doing a dance class. Like, I'm doing a dance class because I want to be able to go and do this social dance on a regular basis. Well, the kind of dancing that I'm learning at the moment, there really isn't anywhere that I'm able to regularly go and socially dance at. I'm hoping that that will start to shift and change potentially. But the interesting thing about it is that I've said, like, as someone who has taught dance for decades, I was saying to the people who were teaching the class, it's so nice to be somewhere where I'm learning something new. Like, I'm learning to move my body in new ways. That feels good to me. But if I was putting my dance, my mobility in terms of like improving my my body's capacity and my performance and my enjoyment and my social dancing, if all of that was kind of lumped into that one thing, that's a lot of pressure for that one class to fulfill. And chances are it wouldn't be able to. So, like, I have different things. I go social dancing, which is I go and have fun dancing. And then I have a class because I want to be able to learn and grow and stretch. And then Serena and I, like, I've been looking at different projects to get involved in. And all of a sudden, Serena and I were like, well, why don't we create a couple of projects? Like, oh, that sounds like a fun idea. So I can get some of the performance. Like, so there's all these different elements. And it's like, we're actually been going through a very similar process recently with respect to this. But I don't have the surgery element, but I do have a restriction still because of where my back is healing, and gradually and taking time, and there have been impacts to having the injury, that has affected things as well. So, like, I can very easily kind of mindset wise go, okay, is it this? Is it that? It could be this, it could be that. And then still things that maybe aren't affecting me, I can go, well, what do you like? Could it be this? Could it be that? Could it be this? Could it be that? And then once you start to understand that, understanding is the first part. Like, figuring out those questions I was talking about earlier with what does this cost me? What does this benefit me? What does doing and not doing benefit and cost me, basically? Like, that helps you to figure out what's going on. And that's why I asked the questions I asked about the dance side of things, because there were things that came out of that wouldn't necessarily have immediately been there.
Right. And it got me thinking, because something that I'm also thinking about when you were saying about the learning and kind of challenging yourself, in one of the last classes I took, I was, I had said to you many times, like, I didn't feel challenged. Like, I was there. I was learning the steps, but I was like, I didn't feel like I was growing as a dancer necessarily. I was keeping the movements up, but it wasn't fulfilling from that, because that's part of what dance, like, I want to be challenged. I want to, if I can
stretch and grow. And,
if I leave doing the exact same thing that I came in being able to do, it does check some boxes, but I know what it feels like to leave and be like, fuck yeah, did you see what I just did? That was awesome. That felt good. Look at how I went from here to here. Like, there is something about that that's part of it. And as you were saying, I'm like, yeah, that was missing. So there's an apprehension to going back to something I love and feeling the way I felt when I left it. Like,
and that's and so that's like, when we understand this is what's going on, this is what's causing this hesitation or this resistance or this like the what the fuck moment of like, oh, I'm doing this, but why am I doing this? I want to do this, and I know this will feel good, and I know this will meet my needs, and blah 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 blah. Because there is fear that doing this will cost needs that in reality doing this should meet. Like, so like, especially if like I love to dance, if I go into an environment that feels toxic, I'm not going to love dancing in that environment. So it's going to cost the very need that I'm going there to fulfill.
And you're going to be really apprehensive about putting yourself back into that environment. Like, and you may, and that's what I was doing for a while. I was like, all right, here I go. Like, going to class.
Doing this. Okay. It's this again.
Like, and I don't want to have that feeling. I don't want to bring that energy in there because I know, like, energy can be felt by everybody. Like, that's going to affect other people. Like, what the hell's up with Serena? Like,
Well, and so that's the thing is like once you have this understanding, at that point, that's when you start to connect into the creator approach. It's like, what is my outcome? Like, what is my purpose of doing this? Because it may be that my outcome is exercise. It might be that my outcome is performance. It might be that my outcome is learning. It might be that my outcome is the self-expression through doing this. There might be 4 different things that you want to do to hit those 4 different outcomes that actually none of them are actually a dance class. There might be different things. So it might be I'm gonna paint because that's my way of self-expression. Or like Bobby's Monkey Bar, karaoke, great way I connect with my self-expression. Like if I'm having a bad night, Bobby's therapy, best on the island. So it's once you have that understanding, then you can get clear. What is it I want to create? And then you can start to look at, well, what are the options for how I can create this in a way that works for me and that maybe doesn't have these downsides that the other things have.
Where can I get the ding, ding, dings from in this one thing? And that's Claire and I have kind of figured out. It's like, well, what do you want to do? I want to dance. Why do you want to dance? Well, I want to move my body. I want to perform. I want to do this kind of choreography. Well, actually, we can do that.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Cool. And a new project was born. Like that's kind of how it works in our world. And the interesting thing about it is that this is kind of like people always like, how are you like what like just what? Like when they come to us, like, what is this? Like, how did the fairy game mothers come about? Because we were like, here's what we want to create. And we went and created that. And all of a sudden, everybody else has gone, this is really cool. Will you come to my birthday party? Will you come to this big event?
I forgot that.
Like people like have just embraced it. Like, and we've had people who are like, I don't have a mum here and I really need to talk to someone. Can I come and talk to you right now?
Can I get a mom?
Yes. Can come. Yeah. By all means, come and chat. Like, so it's like, when we have this realization that there are needs that we want to meet that aren't being fulfilled by the things that we're currently doing, what do we want to create? How do we go about doing that? And so this is like, that's like the next step on, like understanding it, because like, I think the initial question was, well, why? And the why is helpful to know because it helps you to identify what needs are the ones that are kind of doing the talking. But the why alone is probably not going to help with the frustration. You want to then move the next step on from that, which is right, how do I create with this? What do I want to create with this? And how do I move forward to ensure that I'm getting the things that are going to fulfill my needs while minimizing the things that are going to negatively impact or drain my needs? And when you start to create from that place, I mean, that's when the magic happens, like literally.
And these are questions like, I love having my wall to throw spaghetti on, and not that I'm referring to as a wall, but like,
is that me? I think that Mr. Niggles, are we the wall? Like,
well, the wall, or you throw with me, but like, and having like random questions, but I could ask myself these things, especially in creator mode as well.
We are the wall.
In creator mode, okay, what do I want to, like, what really resonates with me? What's fulfilling about dancing to me? Okay, this, and this. What are my options for this?
Yeah.
What do I really want to get? Like, but having somebody that, you know, when Claire's not available, I may call one of my other friends. It's like, can we talk this out? Like, I don't even necessarily need advice. And like, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But it's like, sometimes saying
a lot of the times, you're 90% of the way there before I even say anything. And I'll be like, yes. And there's this other 10% to be aware of. Like, think about this as well.
So thank you.
No.
Because this is really, you pretty much got it. This is what happens. This is our normal day. This is me coming in being like, hey,
what about
meaning of life?
Yeah.
Go. On the next episode.
I mean, yeah. Stay tuned. I think that's the thing is that like when you kind of come in and you're like, okay, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. And it's like, well, why don't and especially, and I think this is one of those things that when you've had something in your life that has for a long time represented a lot of needs being met, and then all of a sudden there's a resistance to it. It's like, what the hell's going on here? Like, why is there resistance going to? But we're thinking about the concept. Like, you think about like dance, like.
So I got really into that one.
Like when you think about like dance is the thing that meets Serena's needs. But we're not just talking about dance. We're talking about specific dance classes with specific people in a specific area with specific restrictions, and that may or may not have the dance component, the performance component. That's like that. At that point, like it's like, well, why am I not going to dance class? Because it's not about the dance. It's about all the other things that are associated with that. That's what's creating the resistance. So how do we then create something that connects us to what dance gives us without the bullshit basically that we've had to deal with that's come to be associated with it.
And like Claire said, that can be something completely different than dance in some of those. Right. It's like, actually, this is going to fulfill that need. So I don't need dance to do this anymore. I can do this with painting or crafting or whatever. So options. Enact your personal power.
Indeed. So anything else before we finish up?
I've got lots more questions.
Oh, I'm sure she does. I'm sure. And this is a great opportunity to be like, if you want us to do another episode like this, which is not all like kind of planned and like you want to send your questions in and we'll just do one like this. Well, we'll get Serena to ask the question and I'll be like, okay, here we go.
And this literally Claire had no idea. Like we weren't putting you on.
She hadn't even told me what the question was.
This morning I came in, I was like, if we do this episode today, like I'll tell you like a minute before so you know. And she didn't know until I actually asked it.
I didn't even ask what it was before we started. We hit record, which we have done.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Which we would do. We'll figure out how to do it. If you like this and you want to kind of,
pick my brains.
Yeah. What's her non-plan response going to be?
Right.
Because.
And sometimes that's when the best stuff comes out. I'll say that. I'm like, oh, that was good. Please tell me we hit record. Like,
or, oh, now I got to make some new content.
New slides. Yeah. Yay. Rich Reed goes, yay. We've got new content, and I gotta do more slides. This program is
going to be amazing.
It's very true, very true. Well, thank you for the question.
You're welcome.
Thank you for the suggestion of doing this format. It's a little unnerving. I'm not going to lie, to not have any clue. But this is what happens when I work with somebody. Like, this is what happens. They bring questions, and I'm like, and there will be times where I'm like, you know what? I need to go and think about that. And that's what I'll say. It's like,
she's done that to me many a time.
Yeah. I'm like, let me go and think about this for a second, because it's not immediately apparent. And then there'll be other times where I'll like, the answer will come out and I'll be like, I've never said that before. That was important information. Into the program it goes. So yeah, this is a fun way of doing it. And
thank you,
new things.
Thank you for the labor that gets put into like, I mean, that this kind of episode makes Claire have to pretty much hold and navigate the space and try to keep up with me, which luckily we're in each other's heads enough where it's a little bit easier, but we've all seen what can happen with me, and I can go total left field and be like, okay, now we're here.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, because I know
you're welcome.
It's a lot on you.
Yeah, and this is actually how a lot of the content got created. Like, it's by clients asking me questions, by Serena asking me questions, by friends or peers asking me questions, and I would be like, well, I hadn't thought about that before, but actually knowing needs the way I do, it's this, and this. So this is the reason we love questions. Like, we love like inviting more of this. And if you want more of this, then let us know, and we'll find a way. We'll find a way to get you questions to Serena, and she can just ambush me with them like podcast. Hi, question for you. It's going to be fun.
Pop-up questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it. Okay, well, thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. We'll be back in really soon. But between now and then, remember to take care of yourself, to stay safe, and to continue to meet your own needs. Lots of love.
Bye, friends.
Bye. That's it for today.
If you like what you heard
and would like to see some of Serena's awesome facial expressions,
check out the video podcast on YouTube.
And remember, if there's something you know you want to do, but for some reason you're not, the first step is to figure out what needs are at play and affecting it. And the second step is to figure out what you want to create to get those needs met.
Well, shit. It really is that simple.